disappoint me. It's all the same if nothing ever changes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here today in the Hawkeye State. Kelsey, quick Iowa fact. Do you know the Iowa State bird?
Is it the Hawkeye?
No, it's the American goldfinch, but good try. Anyways, so this is the next installment of the rig rundowns, or gear rundowns, if you will, for members of the Textures. And today we're going to talk about some singer stuff. So just to get started here, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and maybe some influences that got you into wanting to be a singer?
Sure. So, hey, everybody. I'm Kelsey Kays, lead singer and songwriter of the Textures. I say songwriter, lyricist. I write the melodies. These folks do all the rest of it. But, I came to the Midwest when I was about 14 years old, and I started singing. Started singing at the River Music Experience, which is now Common Chord, and playing open mics and learning how to write, learning how to sing, and found these folks and started the Textures about 5 years ago, and we've been writing songs ever since. It's my new passion. So I guess I'd say some of my influences, to answer your question, would be like Norah Jones and Amy Winehouse, maybe, I don't know, a few other folks around town. But in terms of vocals, really what I'm going for is agility and skill when it comes to influence. Songwriting is a totally different thing. Songwriters I might look at like Jack Johnson, Tedeschi Trucks, some other bands that like just do a little more with lyricism. So it's a whole range.
Awesome. Good stuff all around there. So to kind of keep the ball rolling here, what kind of gear does a singer use? I mean, obviously we know a microphone, but there's probably a few other things that the average listener probably is not aware of that a singer might use. So why don't you enlighten us?
You bet. So we'll get into the details later, but some of the things that are sitting behind me here, we've got in-ear systems, we got wireless microphones, rechargeable batteries for both systems, all the gear that goes with that. I've actually got a pedal that I'm going to show you guys in a little bit, which is the TC Helicon vocal pedal. Adds a little bit of oomph, a little bit of reverb, echo, doubles, pitch. It can only be used in certain settings, but yeah, we'll get into that. But we'll talk about mics, we'll talk about stands, we'll talk about a little bit of everything.
Awesome. Well, why don't we start with talking about mics? You know, you mentioned that you have a wireless mic here. Looks like it's a Shure, but why don't you kind of get into that a little more?
Yeah, so this is a Shure SM58 wireless. So this is kind of like industry standard, I think, for wireless. I got into this because I once played a gig with Textures at the East Moline Main Street Summer Concert Series, and Jeff Peeler was running sound. Shout out to Jeff. And he had a wireless, and I was feeling like Haley Williams, just, you know, here I am doubling mics, dancing around town, getting all over the place. It was really fun. And so I was like, I got to get one of these, and it would be really fun, especially when we're on big stages, to kind of hop around. But yeah, so that's the Shure wireless. That comes with like a little wireless box that you got to hook up, got to give to the sound guy. Basically just plugs into the back like a regular microphone. So these things are expensive. I'm not even going to say, but yeah, you want to take care of those. And then over here, the microphone you heard me singing out of earlier is a Shure Beta 58. And the betas are nice because they have a little bit of a different polar pattern. And when I'm singing in a 6-piece band with a bunch of instruments, it blocks out a little bit of the sound coming from the sides, not just the sound coming from the back, which is what the SM58 does. And so it prevents a little bit more feedback and makes it a little bit easier to sing in a big band.
Interesting. I'm learning a lot just listening here. You know, there's so many things. I don't sing, nor do you want to hear me sing, I should say. But no. But anyway, anyways, folks, let's move on to another integral part of the singer's gear. Let's talk about stands. You know, whether or not you have a preference and what that preference might be.
Yeah, you bet. So this stand here, I'll bring this into frame, is a heavy bottom single stand, and it's got this little guy on it. There's a name for that. Can't think of it right now. But anyway, it has a lever on it. So I like it because the heavy bottom gives me a lot of control, and it eliminates tripping hazards. Tripod stands really give you a lot of tripping hazards, and as a singer who doesn't play an instrument on stage, I am not trying to, play an instrument, be back here. I'm running around. I want to take this thing with me. It's going to get crazy. This actually came from my grandfather, even though it says property of TAJS. I don't know who that is. Somebody from the 70s or 80s, though, because my grandpa had this for some time. And then actually this top part was added because this was straight up. But this helps in case I am holding an instrument that you can lever this. I don't really necessarily need that, but it's nice to have a little bit when you're dancing around. The tripods are nice too, but again, tripping hazards, and they tend to be cheap, so they slide down and all that jazz.
Indeed, they do. Yeah, having the solid bass is a big thing, especially playing outdoor gigs. You got wind, you're not as worried about the mic stands flying all over the place, and yeah, so thank you, Grandpa, for bringing that in and still getting use after all these years. So, well, that's a good overview of your gear. Why don't you let's go into something else here, and why don't you talk about maybe some of your favorite venues or spots to sing at? Some places where you just feel you can just let it all out.
Sure. So we've played mostly in the Quad Cities area. So to say for that much, one place I loved singing was Ribco. There was always a good dedicated sound fella. It was a good room for sound. People really enjoyed it. I could sing to the front row. I could sing to the back of the room. I really, really enjoy playing outdoors more than anything, though. Playing on like Shreveport Park stage is probably my absolute favorite because there's a good atmosphere. There's people around. Again, there's usually good folks hired on sound, so it's not a mess. Redstone Room, Common Chord, also one of my faves. There's always somebody good on sound. Front of house, back behind us, helping us with the monitors. Really, anywhere there's a dedicated sound person, I suppose, is nice. For a vocalist, that's all you can ask for. I mean, I'm sure it's different for an instrumentalist. I don't know what it was like playing Ribco for a guitar player. I don't know what it's like playing outside for a guitar player. But as a vocalist, you got to be able to hear yourself. And before I had in-ears especially, playing somewhere where I had good monitors and a good sound guy makes all the difference.
I mean, I've always just felt that I stay in the same place and everything moves around me. So I can't really add to that anymore. But anyways, moving on. Lately at Textures, we've been doing some acoustic shows, more stripped back, intimate settings, which has been cool. Also, has some challenges as well. Do you have any preference between a full band or an acoustic show?
Yeah, that's interesting. I would say no, I don't have a preference, but they definitely offer two very different things. So when I'm playing with the full band, it's energizing, it's dancing, it's fun, it's interactions with the crowd. There's just an atmosphere that you can't replicate. I'm sure it's the same plugging in an electric guitar and ripping a solo. It's just different. Playing an acoustic show, some benefits are you can almost always hear yourself better. There's just less going on around you. And for that, you can have more vocal control and really hear all of those little subtleties in your voice and feel really proud of that. Playing with a full band, if I didn't have in-ears, I definitely couldn't do that. That was a big game changer, but we can talk about that more later.
Very nice. So as a band, we've gotten into the world of IAMs. For people that don't know, it stands for in-ear monitors. A lot of bands are switching to this format. It makes a lot of things easier to hear, but it also presents its own set of challenges. Why don't you talk about kind of your experience with in-ear monitors and your kind of pros and cons of that world, especially as a singer. It's really, I think, more important for vocalists to have it as far as everybody else. But yeah, why don't you just kind of shed some light on that?
Yeah, so first off, I want to emphasize that I use wireless in-ear monitors because as a singer, again, with no instrument, I'm working the stage, I'm trying to bring it, I'm trying to have fun. I don't want to be standing in one place tethered. And so behind you, what you'll see here is yet another wireless system. I won't pull it out, but it's in the same respect as the wireless microphone. And essentially that just plugs in the same way that a monitor would live, but it offers the benefit of having some headphones, and those plug right in. Oftentimes Frog will bring his whole rig, which is really cool because then we can specify our own mix. That makes a huge difference, being able to have your phone and adjust your own levels, so we'll probably be using that more in the future. But yeah, it just really makes a difference because you can hear so much more. You can define your own mix a little bit better. And when the full band starts playing exactly what you're going to hear. You're not subject to all of the noise in the room just muddying up what you're doing. Knowing you're singing the right notes, but not getting to hear the subtleties in your voice that you want to bring forward. Because when you sing, you want to do your best. You don't just want to hit the right notes. So I would say in-ear monitors are kind of a must for anybody playing in a live setting, really wanting to hear what you're doing.
I agree, 100%. The guitar players and the bass players, they get the benefit from using effects. And I know, there's some vocalists that have started venturing into that world as well. And I know you're into that world as well. Why don't you talk about kind of the vocal effects that you like to use in the live setting?
Sure, yeah. In fact, I might actually switch to my singing microphone here, as long as that's good with everybody here, so I can show you a little bit about the pedal I've been using.
Let's do it, folks.
So first and foremost, I just hit the talk button, which means that there's no effects applied to what I'm doing right now, which makes it a lot easier. But what this TC Helicon does is super cool. I can adjust reverb, I can adjust delay or echo, I can double my pitch in a myriad of different ways. I can use pitch correction, I can do anti-feedback, all kinds of things. And the really fun thing is having presets. I can also use the app for TC Helicon to load some presets. So if I want to sound like Lady Gaga on a specific song, I can literally find that and then Bluetooth that into this.
Who doesn't?
I really, really like it, especially in an acoustic setting, because it really brings my voice to life in a way that you don't get from full band necessarily. But in the full band setting, we've experienced a lot of feedback issues due to the gain settings on here. So it definitely has some limitations, but some cool things I'd like to point out. As you can hear, I just took the talk button off. I can double my voice, and as part of doubling my voice, I can change that into octaves. Oh, now I've come up, ready for the top. No, I won't go back down. Or I can go high octaves. I can do all kinds of things with this. So this is super cool. I can do reverb effects that sound like trash cans. I can do reverb effects that sound like theaters. You can really adjust what you want on here, which is super cool. And then lock those in. Then you can also change the delay and the echo on here, which is super fun. So, strangers, I like ghosts. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. It's really useful. It's really fun. It kind of takes the studio sound to life a little bit if you want to use it. I only use this at a few gigs, mostly acoustic these days, for that little bit of extra oomph.
Yeah, that is really cool, and it adds a lot. Especially when there's lack of like harmony vocals. I could see that being like a huge integral part of the show. But very cool effect. Is there any other pieces of gear you wanna talk about that you find essential to a live performance?
Not in particular, but I guess I would note that there's definitely some aspects of the little gear that you use that you definitely need. I've learned some of this the hard way. I've learned some of this by lending my gear to other folks who learned the hard way. So you got to use your antennas on these wireless systems. They are absolutely essential. If you are not using this or you lose this, just go order some more from Shure. You need them. This little converter jack, shout out to Redstone Room, because one of the sound guys there just gave me this, and I have absolutely had to use it at every single show where I've used in-ear monitors. They've needed this jack and not this one, so that's nice. This was a recommendation from Alex Exup and Cooper Scow. Laura Hams too. Basically the Fair Warning crew, if you know the Fair Warning crew. Just rechargeable batteries because you need it for these wireless systems, and you don't want to be going through tons of battery expense. Other thing is, this is my very secret specialty. Don't tell anyone, except everyone on the internet. But I use this binder when we have new material or we have like just songs that have a little bit of a complex structure, and I have no shame in tossing this on the ground in front of me. It will not fly away because it's in a binder. And I also don't have to have like an iPad in front of my face on stage, which is nice. I can look at these new lyrics to JB's song Proximity and reference them on the ground instead of it encompassing my entire vocal space. So, yeah, I would say those things. Oh, sorry. I remembered one thing.
Okay.
Drum shields. Kyle and I co-invested on some drum shields, and it's super helpful, especially, yeah, there's Kyle's thumb. Especially when we're in a small stage and all the mics are near each other and the drums are just like pouncing and they're going straight into my vocal mic behind me. Even with the Beta, sorry, it doesn't do the whole job. If you want a good mix in your ears, if you want a good mix in the house, it's nice to have drum shields.
Very interesting. So, to kind of give some more information to the listeners about yourself, why don't you talk about maybe some of your influences and then what sets you apart from maybe the other vocalists and bands in the area, and then also just in general, what makes you unique musically?
Yeah, this feels self-indulgent. I'm a Leo, so in my head, I'm really full of it, but out loud, I try to be really cool. So I'm just going to say that right now. But I guess what I would speak to is when I'm on stage, I really try to bring it. I try to bring the energy. I try to bring something original. I try to really interact with the audience. So when I'm singing live, I'm not just getting up to sing, I'm getting up to perform. I'm getting up to engage and hopefully send people home with an experience that isn't just, I saw a band tonight. In terms of songwriting, I would say what sets me apart is that I really am intentional about my lyrics, about how my melodies fit with the song, the rhythm of what I'm writing, so that when people hear it, there's variation, there's an interest. Folks hear something that they maybe haven't heard before. I get it. It's music. It's going to replicate eventually. But I really try to create something intentionally on stage and in the studio that is unique. Yeah, does that answer that?
I'd say so, and I agree. In the words of the great Lapdog, let's give something to take home. Let's give the people something to take home, something they'll remember, and I think you achieved that very well. So, moving on now. Let's kind of get into the nuts and bolts of writing. You do a lot of writing, and I know everyone in the band is very grateful for the amount of writing and the amount of time you put into it. So let's kind of talk about, like, what's your writing process like, and what's all kind of involved in putting a song together?
You bet. Yeah, it's very different with the textures. When I would write by myself before the band, I would sit down and write a chord progression and try to sing something from the heart, and I might put together one or two songs. But what's really cool about playing with the textures is these folks bring, y'all folks bring, progressions and ideas and riffs that already present a mood that inspire me basically from the moment that I hear them. And so I get to run with that. And whether I take ideas from things I've already written down, riding on a plane or driving in my car, thinking of things, trying to iterate ideas, and then bringing them to that music, or if it inspires something new, I'm trying to bring something that speaks to the theme of what you guys have written. And so it's really fun to experiment with that. And sometimes that's writing songs about space, sometimes that's writing songs that are sci-fi, and sometimes that's writing songs about relationships. And it just is what it is. I don't force anything, I suppose. I'll be driving in the car. I'll be walking laps outside, trying to get my steps in for the day. Yeah.
Very nice. Right on. On top of singing, you're also very involved with the social media side and as well as the merch side. Is there any notes or anything you want to provide on that topic? I know that you spent a lot of time doing that, and is there anything I guess that the viewers may want to know?
You can't hack the algorithm. That's all I'm going to say about that. No, it's okay. It's really tough. You have to be on as more than just an artist and a songwriter and a singer and a band. You have to constantly be creating content online and posting it across every platform. And it's taken a couple years to try to figure that out, and I still wouldn't say we've perfected it by any means. But what I found works the best is just showing up as yourself. The sillier we are, whether we're practicing or we're really serious at the studio or whatever is happening, just capture it. And folks want to see that candor. They want to see you be you and understand what your sound is and where it comes from. So post some reels, post some pics, get on YouTube, get on Insta, get on Facebook, wherever you're at. It's a job. It's a full-time job. And it would be awesome if we could book and do all that at the same time, but you got to figure out all your hours.
You heard it here, folks. It's a job. Get out there and like the social media pages and check all that stuff out at your convenience. But I see there's a guy over here with an acoustic guitar and a mic, and you have a mic right here that's hooked up.
I do.
So I think it would be really cool if we just cap this off with maybe a little performance. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll sing a little bit of a song called Melancholy.
Let's do it indeed, folks. Here we are. Until next time.
Hit it, Ben.
Doesn't it feel like a lifetime since we were zipping in coats and tying bows? Dirty feet, there was you and me. I was drawing a picture